So welcome everybody. This is EA Global Summit 2020 virtual conference connecting global EA practitioners. This is Juhi from Summit team. We have been seeing fantastic response, over 1,000 people attending this conference. We have a great lineup of speakers and sophisticated collaboration platform to give you all the best experience of attending the conference. For this session, we have Scott, Communications Manager from Sparx Systems, who will be presenting about collaborative tools for working together. We also have the Teams channel ready and set up for you to connect and interact with Scott and other practitioners after the session and throughout the summit too. Please refer to the chat window to find the link to join with Scott after the session. Please log your questions for this session to Teams channel shared in your chat window. Scott will be answering few questions in the Q&A session at the end, but you can continue your detailed discussion after the session in Teams channel. Now over to you, Scott. You can present your session and share your screen, and I'll make you as presenter now.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody. My name's Scott Hebbard, and it's great to be here, and it's a great pleasure to present today. I'm just going to share my screen, and I'll just check with Dewey that everyone can see my screen, and I'll get started.
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Well, it's a great pleasure to be presenting at the EA Virtual Global Summit, and I'd like to thank the organising committee for allowing me to present on collaborative tools for working together. Now, we've recently released the Enterprise Architect 15.2 beta and also the Pro Cloud Server 4.2 beta. On screen, you can see WebEA is being shown, and I've got this model and it's available in Teams. It's webinars.sparxpublic.com and the link is there. Some of the things we're going to look at is we're going to look at some of the Enterprise Architect 15.2 features, such as collaborations window, chat, instant messaging, focus window, inspector window, and we're also going to look at Pro Cloud Server 4.2 beta. And as you can see, all of this model is being delivered using WebEA and using Pro Cloud Server. So we're going to look at the new interface, custom search, WebEA properties view, and look at things like model mail in WebEA. Now, if you select the settings, the first thing you'll notice is that you can now configure the properties view within WebEA. So you can turn things on or off, and you can select their visibility and the order. So you can see you can display changes, files, resources, attributes and operations. So I switch notes off, and now the notes are no longer being displayed on screen. So WebEA allows you to take your Enterprise Architect models and deliver them via the Pro Cloud Server, and so you can view it in a web browser, as you can see. Now for this particular example, I've now switched off the tagged values, and I am displaying the notes. I can also do the new custom search feature, so I can search for diagrams, elements, packages, discussions, and reviews, and much, much more. So I can instantly do a search based on name, alias, and notes, and I'm going to bring up a Kanban diagram. Now, one of the great things about the collaborative environment that Enterprise Architect offers is that you can do project management, you can manage Kanbans, and WebEA supports a watch list. So I can see any changes that have happened, any recent discussions, any recently modified diagrams, and all of this can be displayed on screen. So I can always keep up to date with what the team is doing at any given time. You can see here are some of the airport decision makers, and I've got the agenda and a model here that's displayed. Now, the new WebEA changes, for example, here we have a simple class diagram, but what I really want to be able to do is I want to be able to display my attributes and operations for this class diagram. I can then use the arrows and I can move them up so I can change the order they appear, and I can enable and disable these features with ease. And you can see they now appear on the right of screen, and the attributes and operations for each of these classes are appearing in WebEA. So it doesn't matter whether it's a strategic model or a class model or an architecture diagram, you can modify it and make it suit your needs. You can even create a link to this WebEA item. You can send that via an email so people can view a diagram directly. One of the great things about using WebEA is that everything's within the one tool, and it makes it really easy for people to collaborate. Now, today we're looking at a real-world example that looks at an airport model. So you can see up the top, we've got the CFO and the CEO. Now, the CEO is responsible for improving safety. The CFO is responsible for growing revenue. There are lots of new features in Enterprise Architect 15.2, and I can't cover them all, but some of the things I'm going to look at are things like the collaborations window, chat, and instant messaging, and how this allows you to collaborate with your team. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to use the new reviews tab under collaborations, and you can see all of the reviews for the model are listed and displayed here. It makes it really easy to navigate and see all of the discussions that are happening within your enterprise. So I can see the admin users posted some things about improving safety, about EA 15.2, and about the launch director. I can also look at all of the recent comments, and these can be comments on elements, on projects, on all sorts of different items. So there's a great deal of benefit and value to being able to view all of these items. Not only can you sort things in alphabetical order, but you can also enable a toggle field, so you can toggle and search for chats and comments from a particular user or when they're posted on a particular date. So it makes it really easy. And for example, I'm going to search for all chats that have been written by the Chief Financial Officer. We also have Model Mail, and Model Mail has now been moved in the collaborations window, making it really easy to have one central point for all of the collaboration to be maintained and managed within Enterprise Architect. Now, on the left of the screen, you can see we have the focus window. Now, the focus window allows you to perform quick finds, so you can find elements and diagrams with these, just like we did in WebEA. We've also got traceability, so I can look at this use case for the Prepare Launchpad, and I can see how it is connected, and I can find elements both in the project browser, and I can just navigate to them directly. So you have the ability to find items, you have full traceability, and you can also see any recent changes. So I can see any changes that have been made to elements and diagrams and documents within the last day, 3 days, 7 days, or 30 days. I can look at discussions, reviews, and construction. So I can look at issues, defects, changes, tests, and tasks. So referring back to the ProCloud Server, there's been lots of updates to WebEA. Remember that ProCloud Server is an installable middleware component which allows you to take your Enterprise Architect models and put them on the cloud. Now, they can be on premises or on AWS or on a cloud infrastructure. It helps facilitate communication between Enterprise Architect and the repository. And some of the things that I've shown in this first segment, I've looked at the improved flexibility of the WebEA properties view. I've been able to turn on and off properties, rearrange them, hide empty sections. And there's also the ability for direct editing, for discussion and notes. So all of your stakeholders out there in the world can contribute to the model, and that information is then stored in the model so it's not lost. So it's not like a traditional web-based or mail conversation that could get lost. It's all stored within the model. Now, for this particular one, I didn't enable model mail, but I'm going to show you later how you can enable model mail within WebEA when setting up the configuration so that people can do model mail within WebEA and always stay connected. So what I hope people are getting out of the presentation so far, that there are a number of new features that make collaboration integral to the ProCloud Server and WebEA and the Enterprise Architect, keeping everyone communicating and connected and in the one software package, always being able to see the model. Later on, I'm going to look at WebEA, looking at some things like object creation and editing. I'm going to show you how to create some reviews and changes via WebEA and show how that works as well. Now, just imagine that you have some of your team in London, Shanghai, Melbourne, New York, some people working from home, some people are in different situations. They're using tablets or computers, but you want them all to be able to see the same source of truth. You want them to be able to be looking at the same enterprise repository, regardless of where they are in the world. Well, Enterprise Architect makes that available and makes that possible. At Sparx Systems, we're using Enterprise Architect every day to communicate. Many of us are working from home, and it's great that I can simply open up my repository and it seems pretty much exactly the same as if I was working in the office. Everything's there at my fingertips. So I've logged in as the admin, and the first thing I notice is that there's an email from the CEO. So that's reasonably important. Now you'll note that within Model Mail, you can insert links to diagram elements. So you never have to be switching between tools. Everything is at your fingertips, and you can point things and let people know about diagrams and about elements and about things that are relevant within your model. So the CEO is asked to update the Kanban diagram to notify the project risk manager that we need to update some policies and processes around social distancing. He's also identified that we should be able to update separate elements. So the great thing is that I can instantly click on the link and I'm there working in my Kanban diagram within Enterprise Architect within a single click. The CEO's told me to make it a priority, so I'm going to update the status so that it's mandatory, put it in the queue, and I can see that the risk manager is associated as a resource, but I can use the new inspector window to instantly assign new resources so that this is assigned, and whenever either the risk manager or the project manager log in, they'll have these resources assigned. So you can see I've updated and updated some of the details, and I can provide a description and a history, and I can let the project manager know and say that he needs to update the security policy to include our COVID-19 response, and it's as directed by the CEO. So all of this work process is embedded into Enterprise Architect, and you can see that I didn't have to go searching for the Kanban diagram. There's a link in the model mail. I click it and everything I need is at my fingertips. I can assign resources, and if I do want to find something, now, for example, I want to switch from the Kanban and I want to see the decision makers, I can click to the decision makers and access it instantly. Now you can see on screen that I have my CEO, CFO, and project manager. Now Tom showed how you can set up these actors so that they use the alias from the project user's account to set up notifications, but you'll notice that with a single button click, I can access discussions, comments, chats, and model mails, and I can send messages directly to the project manager or the CFO or the CEO, and I can keep them informed and updated. So this is a really powerful mechanism for being able to get information you need when you need it, and to be able to communicate and collaborate with staff that are working on a project. So just as a reminder, we've got this notification system where you set up the properties and you can say support collaboration, so you are notified when messages come in. But you can also use that icon in order to send chats, to send messages, and to inform people instantly. So between model mail, the chat features, and the collaboration features, it gives you instant communication access to anybody on the team. And at Sparx Systems, we're using this every single day, from marketing to software development to conducting reviews. The next thing I wanted to talk about was object creation and editing. And we've obviously always been able to create objects and edits within Enterprise Architect, but there's been some refinements to the way that this is done within WebEA. So if you have stakeholders, they can log into the model. Now I'm selecting the desktop view, but some people might view it on a mobile phone or a cell phone. I can access the watch list and I can see any recent discussions, and I can see that there is a discussion around improving safety and can we provide a plan on improving safety at the airport. I can instantly access things such as relationships. and I can very quickly dive down into the airport terminal digital transformation process, and I can add a change from WebEA. So I can enter the name, the status, priority, dates, and I can assign this change from WebEA and make it available. So once again, what I want to show is that using both Enterprise Architect and the Pro Cloud Server and WebEA, everybody on the team has the ability to collaborate, to work together, and to instantly see information and to be able to access it very, very quickly. You can see I can also indicate who's going to be responsible for this change. So in this case, I'm assigning it to the project manager, and I can set the completed on date. So obviously within Enterprise Architect, you can view all of your resources in a Gantt chart, and you can very quickly get an understanding of what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. You can set deadlines, and you can manage the flow of your workflow and how you do your work, and you can improve communication and collaboration and let people know about changes, about risks, about updates to the model. And all of this can be stored in the model, allowing you to create a single source of truth. So I know there's a lot to go through, and especially when we have a new release, often there are so many things that I'd like to show you, and sometimes it's a challenge to get it all across in a half-an-hour presentation. But what I wanted to do is give you a bit of an overview to show you how you can use WebEA to create discussions, and how you can use the Pro Cloud Server, and how you can use Enterprise Architect. Now, it's important to mention that when you make changes in Enterprise Architect to your model, then those changes become live instantly and are available on WebEA. So often when I've done presentations like this in the past, you have customers that say, how is this different from being able to produce HTML documentation? And the difference is that here we're creating changes, and you can add changes, defects, issues, tasks, and risks, and they are being stored in the model. We are making these issues and changes in WebEA via Pro Cloud Server, and they're being saved in the repository. And any changes that are made in Enterprise Architect become instantly available and visible here in WebEA. So I can't underestimate how powerful it is to be able to have a distributed team, perhaps some people working from home that might not have Enterprise Architect, being able to use Pro Cloud Server and WebEA in order to view the enterprise model, to be able to make comments, discussions, and even have access to model mail, to be able to interact with team members instantly and be able to respond to modeling changes and updates and requests from the CEO and requests from project managers and risk managers, and to have all of it documented in the model. So it provides a really powerful, unique environment, which is really unparalleled in my opinion. And it's been really great working at Sparx Systems, being able to see all of this happen for our software development process, for our marketing processes. Everything gets done within the model, and I think it probably took a couple of days to realize how invaluable the collaborate window is, and the ability to chat and have discussions, and to be able to communicate with entire teams, and be able to integrate all of these collaborative tools with Enterprise Architect, with the Pro Cloud Server, and to be able to have this done live. Now, I mentioned earlier that for the live model, which is webinars.sparxpublic.com, I didn't enable model mail, but I wanted to just show you how easy it is to enable model mail, and demonstrate if you want to set that up in your own Pro Cloud Server model. So Here we've got our ProCloud server login. This particular example is just on localhost running locally. So I can select a model, which in this case happens to be my cloud. And the very first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you enable Pro features such as OSLC, WebEA, and integration. Because if that's not enabled, then you can't use WebEA to access your model. So once that's done and you've enabled WebEA, you can go to the configuration page. And once again, with the ProCloud Server 4.2, there's now web-based tools that make model configuration much, much easier. Now you can see there are a number of options here which allow you to show the watch list, to show the browser, to show the properties view, to show the path view, and by default, model mail is set up to not be enabled, but you can enable model mail by just selecting the option here within the configuration settings. So not only have we updated the way the properties look and the way the views look, but we've also been able to update web-based configuration of WebEA and make it much more streamlined, and it's a very, very powerful way of being able to engage with users wherever they are. So we've had a look at a number of things. We've looked at that there's now streamlined reviews and review elements. What I'm going to do now is show the project manager, and he's logging in for the first time after quite some time. He's using Enterprise Architect, and you can see the blue notification shows that there is a chat message from the admin user. It says, as project manager, please update Kanban to include a new safety project that CEO has requested. So as a project manager, I can just do a quick store, and I can bring up the Airport Digital Transformation Kanban. All the changes that we implemented before are on the screen, and I'm just going to hit the space bar and I'm going to add a new feature directly to the Kanban, and give it a name, and I can assign resources accordingly. So I wanted to switch between the admin user and the project management user to show how the minute you log in, you get notified. You can embed links in chats and comments and model mail so that it will take you directly to where you need to go. You can have element level discussions, so it's stored within the model. I can then use the inspector window once again to assign resources, but not only can I assign resources, I can assign tests and files and scenarios and requirements to these elements. So it's like the element browser, but on steroids, and it's all contained within the one section within Enterprise Architect, making it much easier to navigate and assign resources. So there's a few abilities to be able to instantly create a message, and I'm now going to send a model mail to the strategy team, and you can set up your teams all within your user requirements. I'm sure there might be a few questions coming up, and because we had a slight delay at the beginning, I will try and get to the questions in a moment. So once again, we can send a model mail. We can quickly use a drop down to insert links to diagrams, to model elements, to test issues, to requirements. So whenever you're collaborating and communicating everything that you need, you can insert a link to it so it's available, and it makes it really quick, easy, and powerful in order to access this information. And you can see here that for the check-in for flight information, we can access a discussion. And what I find really valuable within Enterprise Architect is that, let's say we want to do an impact analysis. Is what happens if we update the security policy. What impact is it going to have on the check-in process? Well, I can simply insert related elements. I can say, let's go 2 levels deep, and I can select, all of these elements, and I can allow Enterprise Architect to automatically create a related elements diagram so I can see the traceability. So if I make a change to check-in for flight, then it's going to impact our quick check-in. It's going to impact travel experience. It's going to have an impact on all of these other assessments and policies and processes. So we can not only manage the processes and the comments and the systems, but we can also manage the traceability and the impact analysis requirements as well. I can send a chat to everyone in the project management office and ask them to now have a look at this impact analysis diagram, and they can go away and conduct an analysis of this and talk about and discuss and provide details on how they're going to approach this system and how they're going to manage the process. So in today's session, what I've been trying to do is build up a story of using this airport example, how an entire team that is distributed and dispersed can still keep on the same page. They can communicate, they can discuss ideas, topics, and all be informed about changes model. And even if people don't have Enterprise Architect, if you are trying to engage stakeholders, you can do so. And the last thing I'm doing here is I'm just creating a new review, and you can join the review and you can add elements to the review, which allows people to review an item for sign off. So you can go into the properties and say how long this review will last. And you can use the new review tab in the collaborate window to join the review and to instantly access review details and to make comments. You can assign an approver so that someone can approve project work. And once again, you can say create review topic, and I can add an approver. So for this particular project, the CEO wants it to happen, so I can make the CEO and make them the approver for this project, and I can provide additional details there. So in today's session, I've had a look at the ProCloud Server 4.2. I've looked at WebEA. I've shown even if you have a team in London, Shanghai, Melbourne, New York, they can all talk together. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to hold it there and hand over for any questions. Thank you very much for your patience and time. Once again, in the Teams section, I've put a link to the demo model. I know I went through it pretty quickly, so you might like to have a look at the ProCloud Server WebEA instance, see how it works, and try it from home. So I'll hand over and looking forward to hearing your questions.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for the session. So we have one question from Chetan asking about, can we integrate EA with other ALM or requirement management tools such as PTC Integrity or IBM Doors?
So one of the great things about using the ProCloud Server is that it does support a number of different integrations, and you can set up those integrations so that you can integrate with other tools. I don't have a comprehensive list available, but we might be able to post a list. But there's integrations with things like ShareNow and Jira and Confluence and a number of other integrations, including some of the IBM projects. So the ProCloud Server is the middleware software that allows these integrations to happen, and so that's great.
Thank you, Scott. And there is another question from Marwan. Is there any relationship or synchronization between reviews in ProCloud and Prolaborate?
So Spark Systems also has Prolaborate and you know, the reviews in Prolaborate and within Enterprise Architect are slightly different, but they do serve the same purpose. They allow you to be able to manage and monitor a particular aspect of a project, and to be able to assign an approver, and to have a formal structured review process around a model element. And this allows you to clearly see who's signed off on an element, and to be able to coordinate some of that collaboration and correspondence in a formalized, structured manner.
Thanks, Scott. And one more question from Harry. Can you change models online?
So you can see when I first logged in, there was a single model listed, which was Summit Airport, which I created specifically for this presentation to try and showcase some features. So the model has some use cases, some requirements, some capabilities, a number of various structures, some UML, a class diagram. But you can, just like when I showed with the configuration, have multiple models available there for selection. So when you access WebEA, you can certainly have 3 or 4 or 5 different models there, and you can switch between them all within WebEA. So.
Okay, thank you, Scott. And I'll paste the rest of the questions in Teams channel for you to take forward after this session. So thanks once again, Scott. Thank you all for participating the session. The video of this session will be made available after this conference, and we will be notifying you all once it's available. Join MS Teams and continue the conversation with Scott and other EA experts too. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.